Tonight, 4 GOP hopefuls await the results from the biggest primary day of the campaign for the presidency. 10 states cast their ballots today, and the results are pouring in. Mitt Romney has reason to be hopeful, but could tonight's results bring another shakeup in the race? Could a big win in Georgia bring Newt's campaign back from the dead? This is Super Tuesday. This is Grady NewSource.
From the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication, this is Grady NewSource, a Super Tuesday special.
Good evening and welcome to the NewSource Super Tuesday special. Republican voters in 10 states got their chance to pick the party's nominee who will face off against President Obama in the fall. I'm Copeland Tucker.
And I'm Caroline Daniel. It has been a pretty Super Tuesday indeed for Newt Gingrich in Georgia and for Mitt Romney, it would seem, overall. You know, we're still waiting for a couple more results, and we'll get those to you as soon as we can. And
speaking of Romney, he's actually speaking right now at a campaign event. I believe we have him on satellite. Let's take a look.
The promise of tomorrow. Tomorrow we wake up and we start again. And the next day, we'll do the same. Yes. And so we'll go day by day, step by step, door by door, heart to heart. There'll be good days, there'll be bad days. Always long hours, never enough time to get everything done. But on November 6th, we're going to stand united, not only having won an election, but having saved a future. It's time to believe in ourselves. It's time to believe in ourselves. It's time to believe in America. And I'm asking you to join our cause. We need your energy and your conviction and your commitment. I'm asking for you to pledge your support at mittromney.com. Get online. We need your voice and your vote in this campaign. And I'm asking you to join in the fight for our freedom and ensure that tomorrow will be better than today. Let's go forward together and restore the promise of America together.
Now that was Mitt Romney asking for your support, but first we'll get to that in a second. But with us tonight is Brandon Howell, Vice President for the Georgia Association of College Republicans. How you doing, Brandon?
Good. It's great to be with y'all.
Now, Brandon, when I was thinking about someone who could come on the show and talk about the results, you were literally the first guy that I talked about. So let's just dive into it. You've been looking at the maps. What are you thinking right now about the results for Gingrich? Good news?
It's been a big night for him in Georgia. He's focused pretty much all of his effort on Georgia for the past couple of weeks, and I think you see a real nostalgia effect here. It's really been a blowout win. He's polling a few points higher than I was, quite frankly, expecting, you know, pushing 48, 49% overall, really crushing Santorum's chances in a state that Santorum would probably poll well in without Gingrich on the ballot. Really broad-based victory. He's picked up a lot of establishment support in Georgia, and, you know, he said to win Georgia, or to continue on in the race, he had to win Georgia, and that's what he's done tonight.
Do you think he's exceeded his expectations in terms of numbers there?
I mean, the polls have been reflecting a solid uptick for Gingrich in the last couple of days. You know, he's polling consistently at about what the last couple of polls were calling it for, but you know, it's really been a broad-based victory for him here tonight. You know, you could argue that it's just a nostalgia factor, or you know, you could argue that something more is at work, but you know, Romney right now is only winning one county. Gingrich is winning every congressional district overall, and you're just seeing a really crushing victory for Gingrich here.
You know, now speaking of the counties, why do you think that Romney only has like this few counties, but Gingrich has won the overall majority?
Well, Gingrich has some very strong Georgia ties here. You know, he represented West Georgia, rather, for close to 20 years. You know, he's got
taught at West Georgia, actually.
Taught at West Georgia. Was a guest professor at Kennesaw. Went to Emory for grad school. You know, he's got the backing of a lot of politicians in this state, a lot of establishment support, a lot of money support, and, you know, again, the nostalgia factor could be at work. You know, a lot of voters in exit polls aren't always willing to...
Like the 90s nostalgia?
I love the 90s.
They love the 90s.
You know, you're seeing a lot of that at work, I believe. You know, people are just really kind of dissatisfied with the candidates, I think, nationwide. And so probably tonight you had a lot of Georgians saying that they were going to go with the hometown guy regardless of what happened nationwide.
Well, clearly they did. And again, Metro Atlanta, Gingrich country except for what, Fulton and DeKalb?
Just Fulton. DeKalb had not come in yet the last time I looked.
Last time I saw it, Chatham County actually went for Romney, but all the counties around it for Gingrich. So a broad-based win.
Right, exactly.
Now, how was voter turnout?
Voter turnout has been substantially lower. I think that is one thing that does deserve to point out, and Republicans like me hate to point it out. But in 2008, 963,000 Georgians cast a ballot in the Republican primary, with 67% in. Only about 520,000 had voted, and that's on pace to be substantially lower than 2008. And it does kind of stem back to the whole argument that there is some dissatisfaction with the field, or maybe resignation about somebody else being the nominee. And so it is interesting to point out, and but then again, by the same token, a poll came out last week that said that the enthusiasm gap favored Republicans as opposed to Democrats about this election. So maybe Republicans are just saving their energy, but it definitely bears mention.
So no matter who the nominee is, do you think that eventually the Republicans will coalesce around that nominee?
I think that the dislike for President Obama is much stronger than any reservations that Republicans may have. There are definitely there are definitely divisions within the party right now, but there are divisions between Obama and Clinton along the same lines, spanning well into June of 2008.
And they all coalesce.
And like the American public does have a short memory. You could say 13 years ago, who would have thought that Newt Gingrich would be a Super Tuesday candidate?
Awesome.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Super Tuesday nationally with Joey Gaspierk in the newsroom. Joey, what's up over there?
Sound. I don't hear it.
I think I have some technical difficulties with Joey's audio.
Yeah. Well, if one thing we know about Joey, it's that he bounces back. I'm sure he'll be back in the newsroom. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to try to get back to Joey. So coming up, we're going to talk more about the results in the different states. So guys, don't go away.
Stay with us.
We'll be back. Sorry about those technical difficulties. We'll get back to Joey in a few minutes. Actually, right now, I think we're getting back to Joey.
I think so. Joey, is everything working all right in there?
Thanks, Caroline. Now, I want to apologize for those technical difficulties we experienced earlier, but Georgia's not the only state we're following on this Super Tuesday night. We're also following every election that's happening all over the nation now. Santorum, it's looking like now these are predictions, folks, but he's taken Oklahoma, Tennessee. Romney, they're saying, has also predictions, Massachusetts, Ohio, Virginia, and Vermont. Gingrich, they're calling him Georgia. They're saying he's got the state of Georgia. That's to no surprise. Now, I want to talk about 3 more states in a little bit more detail. Now, I'm going to walk over here, and I'm going to talk to Kelly Brim, who is following what's going on in the important state of Ohio. Now, Kelly, tell us about what's going on up there.
Well, the Buckeye State is the state to watch tonight. Some would even say it's the most important out of the 10 states for these delegates. Now, ever since they started recording these votes, it's been a close race between Santorum and Romney. They're at about 61% of votes have been recorded right now, and Santorum is currently leading 38%, with Romney at 36%. So it is a close race, and it can go either way. They still have 39% votes to record. So
yeah, it is a very close race. Now, you were telling me something interesting earlier about the state of Ohio. Now, can you tell our viewers what's so interesting about this state?
Yes, no Republican nominee has ever become president without winning Ohio. So that is how big of an importance Ohio is tonight.
How many delegates does the state carry along with it?
It carries 63 at our stake tonight.
So Ohio is a very important state, and also another very important state is Tennessee. And reporter Erin Cohen's talking. She's been all over Tennessee all night. Erin, can you tell us what's going on in Tennessee?
Well, right now, Santorum is the projected winner for the state of Tennessee, coming in at about 38% of the votes. And Mitt Romney is right behind him at 28%. So really, Joey, it's not that tight of a race. I mean, 10% really isn't too close. A closer race is actually between Gingrich and Romney. And it says here that Gingrich is at 23%. And like I said before, Romney's at 28%. So that's like a 5% difference. And coming in at the bottom is Ron Paul at 9%. And, you know, Tennessee it trends usually Republican. And a fun fact about Tennessee is that since 1928, they've picked every election correctly. So, you know, they picked the candidate that's going to be in the race. So, yeah, that's pretty much.
Okay, well, Tennessee seems to have their head on straight. They're always picking the right candidate that ends up winning the presidential race now.
Yes.
So, and Santorum won that state. So a big win for Santorum in Tennessee. Now we're going to go to our third big state, and that is Virginia. I got Brittany Nicholson here. She's been all over that. Brittany, what's going on in Virginia?
Well, it's interesting. I have 99% reporting, and Romney is in the lead. Interestingly enough, though, he was only against Paul, but it was good for Paul because he got 3 delegates, which is good for him. But The reason for that is Gingrich and Santorum were unable to get enough signatures in Virginia to be put on the ballot for the primary. So that's a pretty big win for Romney.
So Romney only going against Paul, Gingrich and Santorum not even on the ballot. How many delegates are coming out of the state?
46. Like I said, 3 for Paul, so that leaves Romney with 43.
Wow, okay, so those are some big things to think about, and I'm going to send it back to the desk, and they'll tell you more about what we just covered in here.
Thank you so much for that info, Joey. Actually, we have a new guest in the studio. His name is Professor Morgan Marietta, a very esteemed political science professor.
Yeah, let's not exaggerate.
Oh, okay. Well, look, you're on the show. You might as well tout yourself. But so 10 states had their primaries today. What do you think this means for people who haven't been the front runner in the past week, which is anyone but Romney?
Right, right. Well, this is a very important day where Mitt Romney has the real chance to solidify his status as the dominant and obvious leader. And in recent times, he's been surging in the national polls. He has a 10% lead nationally. But of course, this isn't a national contest. It's state by state. And the state that counts tonight is Ohio. And Santorum has a real chance to continue in this race. If I had been asked yesterday, I would have said that if Santorum does not win Ohio, he has very little chance of being able to continue in the race. And Romney would become the obvious leader. But that doesn't seem to be the case. We don't quite know yet, but it looks like Santorum is ahead by 3% in Ohio, and he may well win. And that is the second largest state, 66 electoral votes, and that means that unfortunately for Romney, he wanted it to really end tonight, but if Santorum wins, no, Santorum continues in for a long time.
You don't always get what you want.
Yeah, and you know, we just heard from Joey and the reporters in the studio that usually the person who wins Ohio is president.
Well, in the national election.
Yeah, what do you have to say about that?
Right. Well, maybe in the national election, but in the primary, really not so much. But there are some very interesting things coming out of the exit polls in Ohio. Santorum is not doing well with women for some of the reasons about contraception and such. 3 points for Romney. Also, there's some other very interesting things coming out. As you would expect it, among people who say that they're very conservative or they're evangelical voters, Santorum has about 10 to 15 point lead. But that is not the case with people who are concerned with other things. Yeah. People who said that abortion was the #1 issue, Santorum by 40%. But people who thought it was the economy or it was the debt, about 10 to 20% for Romney.
Well, and that's a narrative that's been going on a lot in the primary process between Santorum and Romney.
Yeah, but now when we get into the general election, and especially for independents, people who really think that the national economy and the debt are the issues, that will not play well for Santorum, but very well for Romney.
Now, what do you think is going to happen, Brandon?
I think that this is tonight, first of all, is a really interesting statement from Rick Santorum. You know, he was outspent in Ohio probably 6-1. And it's, you could argue that it's a testament to his durability as a candidate, that he has, you know, weathered the storm in Tennessee and is winning by double digits when many thought that it was going to slip away to Romney. He's won Oklahoma. He has a narrow lead in Ohio, may very well pull it out, but, you know, the jury's still out on that. But, you know, you could argue that it's either a testament to Santorum's strengths as a candidate with the Republican base right now, or you could argue that it is sheer frustration with Mitt Romney, when by the same token, throughout this primary process, you've seen Romney surge whenever he's down, but then once he gets back up, he falters. Yeah. And a lot of people argue that it's because he doesn't have a cohesive message yet. He's just going...
Really quickly, what can Romney do next if he wants to clinch the nomination?
Romney has got to find a cohesive message to define himself as, rather than going state by state, bombing whoever is near him in the polls.
Cohesive message.
Cohesive message is what he's got to do.
Very true.
Well, guys, stay with us. We're going to do Twitter trends up next.
Welcome back. We have some Twitter trends to show you guys with Joey Gasparic in the newsroom.
Well, guys, what we're following here in the newsroom is Twitter and other social media things like that. And Mamie Shepard is our social media expert. Now, Mamie, can you tell me what's going on right now in the social media world?
Well, actually, Joey, I thought it would be blowing up a lot more than it has been. But, you know, while the men in this race are garnering so much attention, the women that stand behind those men are garnering attention on Twitter. And Romney and Callista Gingrich, they're the ones that are trending. Ohio, of course, is trending. Rick Santorum is trending. And Howard Dean, who is the former chairman of the National Democratic Committee, is trending. So that's kind of all we've seen so far. It hasn't been explosive like I thought it was going to be.
So not exactly as explosive as she thought. The women trending a little bit more than the men. That's an interesting fact. I'm going to throw it back down to you guys at the desk, and you guys can talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sure the Twitter sphere is blowing up right now with news about the primary. Actually, we have a more local perspective. NewSource reporter Leah Brevoort is actually at the Athens-Clarke County courthouse to give us a little information about the primaries today. Leah?
I'm actually live here outside City Hall in downtown Athens. This is where they used to tally the votes for Clarke County right behind me, but not anymore. This year, instead, it's done by congressional districts. Now, that's delaying knowing where our 76 delegates are headed. That 76 might seem like a lot. In fact, more than any other state voting today. But Gingrich won't take home all 76 unless he wins by more than 50% of his home turf vote. Now, Georgia has notoriously not been a winner-takes-all state. Imagine the 76 delegates like points. 3 of them are given to the overall state winner. That leaves 73. 31 of those are divided proportionally to the top candidates, but they have to get at least 20% of the vote to be eligible. Now is where things get a little more complicated. Votes are counted by districts this year, which we have 14 of thanks to the 2010 census. For each district you win, you get 3 points. Now, that might seem like a lot of math, but that all adds up to 76 delegates, which our Republican candidates will be taking home tonight. As of the latest polls, Gingrich has 49% of the vote, and that was with 56% of the precincts voting. I'm Leah Brevoort, live outside City Hall with Grady NewSource. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you so much, Leah.
Now, Dr. Marietta, what can you tell us about national voter turnout?
Well, this whole series, it has been surprisingly low. Republicans are not what one would call enthusiastic about the choices that they are facing.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Give us a little more.
It is because people do not trust Mitt Romney. That's the real truth. And there's 2 reasons why they don't trust Mitt Romney. One is that they don't believe he is truly a conservative because of what he did in Massachusetts with health care. He's changed opinions a little bit too much for people, so they don't really believe he's a conservative. And the second reason, frankly, he's a Mormon. And people don't know what that is. It isn't what you would call religious bigotry. It's a question of they don't know what that is. So therefore, they can't identify with him. And if they can't identify with him, they don't trust him. And if they don't trust him, they'll search for a sequence of other people. And that's why we've seen a new person rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. And now simply they've run out of people, and he's what they've got. Yeah. But they still aren't eager to vote, and that's why they're not coming out.
Okay. One thing I'd like to add to that is I think you see a lot of Republicans who are enthusiastic more so about the people who decided not to run. Yeah. And, you know, Republicans have had glimmers of hope heading into this election cycle from Mitch Daniels to Paul Ryan, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, those type of candidates who have all decided to sit out. And so Republicans are, by and large, longing for another candidate with a lot to do with the Mitt Romney factor. Well,
good analysis, guys. We'll be back. We'll be talking about the actual county results in the Northeast Georgia area, vote by vote. Stick around.
How some of these surrounding counties voted. We're going to go to Sana Sayani. Sana, what you got for me?
Well, election results are in, and no surprise here, Newt Gingrich is the clear winner up here in Northeast Georgia at least. Let's take a look at how your county voted. We've got results from Clarke County. 100% of the precinct results are in. As you can see, Gingrich is at 39.1%, Romney at 30%, so pretty close right there, but that is the only county that was very close here at least in Northeast Georgia. Taking a look at Oconee County, 100% of these results are also in, and we've got Romney at 25.9%, Gingrich at 47.5%, Santorum quite far at 19.1%. Next county, we've got Jackson County. Let's see how you guys voted. 62.5% of the precincts have reported, but I'm pretty sure Newt Gingrich has nothing to worry about here because he is a clear winner in this county with 56.6%, Romney and Santorum quite far away. Next county, we've got Barrow County. 100% of the results are in from this county. we've got Gingrich at 56.2%, Romney at 17.8%. And the last county we've got is Hall County for you. Results are in from this county. Final numbers, Gingrich at 54.3%. So clear winner, Gingrich. What does that mean for you guys? I mean, how does that parallel to the entire state?
Great, thank you.
Yeah. I think it says that Gingrich is just cleaning up here, but we have to go to break again. Coming up, we're going to have a very snippy comment from the President of the United States at Mitt Romney. You're not going to want to miss this. You know, people tend to forget that all this nomination process is really all about facing President Obama in November. And of course, President Obama is watching from Washington. At a press conference today, he had some interesting words for Governor Mitt Romney. Check this out.
Today is Super Tuesday, so I wonder if you might weigh in on some of your potential Republican opponents. Mitt Romney has criticized you on Iran and said hope is not a foreign policy. He also said that you are America's most feckless president since Carter. Yeah. What would you like to say to Mr. Romney?
Good luck tonight.
No, really.
That's very interesting.
Really?
It definitely gives me something to think about, what he meant by that. Well, thank you both for being here tonight. We really do appreciate it. And I guess we'll have to say goodnight.
Yeah. And we will keep you updated on the results tomorrow on our show. And I have a feeling that these primaries are going to continue on for
I think so.
a few more months. What do you guys think after
We
tonight?
have 6 more weeks of primaries.
6 more weeks of primaries. The groundhog, Santorum. You want to call Santorum the groundhog? He's seen his shadow. And yeah, so what do you guys think should be next for Romney, Santorum? What's their strategies? What do you think they should do?
Well, Gingrich has clearly proven that he is a regional candidate tonight, and so his focus is going to be on winning Alabama and Mississippi and then somehow proving that he can contend in a state outside of the South. Santorum is going to probably continue doing what he is doing. It's obviously working to some extent, and Romney, again, has got to try to find some sort of cohesive message to convince voters that he can carry the mantle.
Who wins the primaries?
Romney does. If there's any meaning coming out of the exit polls in Ohio, it's that Romney is winning among people who care about the economy, and it's his message that he can fix the economy just like he did at Bain Capital for troubled firms.
We'll see.
Well, this time we actually are saying goodnight. So.
Bye, guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
UGA NewSource is a student production of the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication, which is solely responsible for its content. The views expressed do not represent those of the University of Georgia administration nor the Board of Regents of the university system.